Then let's jump into round 4 of the Relic Tour Straßbourg. And I'm back with Samuel. Cheers.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so today we have Mono Black against Niv-Mizzet. A little bit different than the last Mono Black, where we had Shieldred. So, a versatile strategy. Acererak is a very interesting commander. I think you played him for a little bit.
Yeah,
I think on cam once as well.
I think I also played him on cam, yes.
Yeah.
It's quite a cool deck, I have to say. Very fun to play. Very unique cards to play. I think it was... it's already some time ago that James brought it to Darmstadt and he won the tournament with it. And since then, people were hyped. At least a few people were hyped about this deck.
And that was like last year, right? Or was it
last year? I think it was, or wasn't it the year before? I'm not too sure.
Might have been, yeah.
But
it's cool. It plays some very obscure cards. Here we see one being played here.
That's just about to say.
This card, surprisingly, is on the reserved list.
Is it?
Yeah, Cavern of Souls is one of the... That's one of the reasons why it's so expensive in foil. Well, I'm pretty sure it is. I don't know why it wouldn't be that. It would be that expensive then. Wait, has it seen a reprint?
I don't think so. So there's Cabal Stronghold, something we don't see too often, and we also see a Bontu's Monument. The point of this deck here is actually trying to get down permanents that would reduce Acererak's casting cost. And since you bounce it back automatically all the time, you try to recast it all over again. And the most basic dungeon you go for is, I think it was called Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which has like 6 or 7 stages. And at the very end, you draw 3 cards. And one of those cards you can cast for free this turn. And of course, I'm not 100% sure about the list, but some people also feature initiative cards in order to go through the initiative dungeon. And
one of them at the end drains the opponent for 1. So that's the one that you use without anything else to just go through the loop and kill the opponent.
Exactly. So you have the card that I think made this deck not viable, but pushed it to a certain level to be able to run it at a tournament was Relic of Legends, which is a 3-mana artifact that says you can tap a legendary in order to create a mana of any color.
Which is notably better than the print before it, which was from Kamigawa, that you could tap a legendary to untap it, and it makes a colorless mana.
Yeah, correct. But this one had some fun combos with Emara, by the way.
Yeah. And with the Acererak, you can reduce it by 2 with either a Urza's Incubator.
Yes, Urza's Incubator. You also have Heartless Summoning.
Yes, Heartless Summoning, that's the one.
There's Bontu's Monument on the field. So unfortunately, I forgot to blend in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. The last stage was Scry 2, I think. The very first few stages are not too powerful. You create a treasure token. At some point, you can draw a card. It's pretty much about the very last step. And the deck is just trying to grind through the game. Sometimes you find the necessary pieces in order to storm and go off with tendrils. Sometimes you have the chance to disrupt your opponent and just create a lot of mana in the end and recasting Acererak all over again. So it can win in various ways, and here he's going for the classic ways. But we also have to say that Niv-Mizzet was missing 3 land drops already, I think.
Yep, and it's not the best combination of lands, where he might be having trouble casting some spells because it's a Rogrim Triumph with a Bayou and a Swamp, so he doesn't have access to double white, blue, or red.
Yep.
Or green.
True. I mean, he could cast things like Kaya's Guile. I think he has it in hand. Yeah, he has it in hand even. Oh, now we see it. So there's a Ren 6 Toxic, Void Rend. Emrakul is quite a weird choice to me. At least in Niv-Mizzet.
I mean, looking at all the counter spells in the graveyard, this seems like the more control-based version of Niv. And,
correct.
There is a French tendency to put Emrakul, the Promised End, in any control deck that... any control deck. Not even that, just any control deck.
Yeah, I think that's right. If you look at Leovold lists from over there, you will see Emrakul. You will see it in some, or you saw it in some Kiss lists back in the days. The monocolored versions always feature it.
That is a interesting inclusion, though.
Absolutely.
You
can't find it with the trigger?
You can't find it with the trigger, exactly. I would always expect my threats, if they weren't incredibly powerful like Emrakul is, to be searchable through the trigger. And at that, I feel like Tazigor is quite a bit worse than Murktide Regents in most lists. And this list, considering the amount of counterspells it plays, should be able to cast a Murktide Regent.
Absolutely. So again, if you're curious about the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, just go on Scryfall and check. He's about to make 2 skeletons. He's not far away from the final stage. And those skeletons will also help to reduce the life total. So Niv-Mizzet is currently on 13 HP. It's not looking too good. I think I've never seen a game at which the Cabal Stronghold, what's it called like this? Whatever, the land that's producing so much. Basically the budget Cabal coffers producing that much mana.
Yeah, it seems to be not doing... I mean, it's doing its job, but comparing it to a Cabal coffers, it's very short.
Absolutely. But then again, we see that Niv-Mizzet has a couple of counterspells up all over again, and now he finally... No, the very last stage is drawing 3 cards, and the stage before you get to scry 3. Which makes sense in addition.
Oh, I was confused. The land that's on the bottom there is not a bayou, it's a tundra.
Yeah, it is. It looks like a bayou.
And that's why he hasn't cast the Ren 6 as well. Yeah, okay. That makes a lot more sense. I was a little confused there.
It looks very green, to be honest, right?
Yeah. I think that's the lighting.
But here we have a plains.
But
so Ren 6 would be possible.
There's no land in graveyard, and I mean it's possible, but it's not the strongest play.
But let's be honest, kill there's the Cabal coffers. We saw that last game, and he has an insane amount of mana now, which will probably lead to the Acererak. You can't pronounce it correctly.
I think it's Acererak.
Yeah, it is. But I always
Acererak. In English, I'd say Acererak.
I was just going for, you can enter the other dungeon, and you need 5 steps in order to drain your opponent for 1.
Yeah, so
could be even possible.
Oh, but doing that, I think, is... Oh, you mean... No, I don't think
he cannot do it. Never mind, he cannot do it, because he has an open dungeon, and he can only open a new dungeon if the other one is closed. So he has to go through the current dungeon. Yeah. So that's not possible. Yeah. So that's why he's going through this one. Nevertheless, I mean... I think he has...
Oh!
There's an Abrupt Decay. That's not...
Wait, I'm a little confused. Why did the... Is he completing the Dungeon of Annihilation?
No, he's completing it's still the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, I think.
Okay. So Acererak just got destroyed in response to a trigger.
Yeah,
so that it goes back into the command zone and costs an extra 10.
But I think we see tendrils in hand all the time, and he already has enough Acererak casts. Acererak, Jesus Christ. Zombie casts. I will just call it zombie because it's a zombie.
True.
And here we see the new tutor from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. The one that also lets you draw cards and do other stuff, I think.
It's very good for these kinds of situations.
Tapping 4, and here's the tendrils, and that's more than enough. He's casted a couple of spells. Yeah. That's definitely lethal. So we will go to round 2.
I mean, seeing like 14 lands on one side of the field and 4 eventually on the other.
Yeah. Niv-Mizzet down to 6.
Seems like it was a very reasonable keeping a red and 6, keeping a bunch of counter spells, and then sadly not finding a fetch land. If you found a fetch land at any point in that game, I think that would have looked very different.
I think so too.
Especially because Acererak was cast like 8 times without any onboard progress, without moving towards finishing a dungeon. I mean, looking at the one that he did finish, gain 1 life, scry 1, create a treasure, scry 2, and make a skeleton, scry another 3, and then eventually draw a couple of cards. That's a lot of casts where you haven't really done much to affect the board. If Niv-Mizzet got into the game at the beginning, then would have looked very different.
We see a Tithe in response to the Durus. Makes sense. This time he wants to make sure to hit his land drops.
It's unfortunate to have to tithe if you are
on the play.
He's on the play. Never mind. Yeah, so it's not going to get any better. Yeah,
it could have been better. I think it was not his first. Yeah, I think it was his first choice too, because he needs to fetch anyways in order to find the white source. So you cannot play unless he would draw a second white source, play that, and then you do the classic fetch, holding prior, cast Tithe, and search yourself 2 lands instead of 1.
So notably, with a Bayou in hand, I don't think he can cast Flame of the Nor.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be an issue. Void Rend he can cast, but I'm guessing that Flame of the Nor gets taken here.
I think so too.
Yeah.
This is.
Maybe he has I guess making sure the opponent doesn't. Making sure the opponent stumbles is less important than any of his combo pieces being on the board. And Void Rend is one of the not few, but one of the answers that he has. Yeah. So considering the importance of this Jet Medallion not having a land drop,
but. On the other hand, the Flame of Anna is also able to take care of that.
True, that's correct, yeah.
So that's what he decides to do. And there might be...
Does he have a Knight of Souls Betrayal in his hand? I don't think so, but I think that's the card that I just saw.
I don't even remember this card.
Knight of Souls Betrayal is a Kamigawa enchantment for 4.
The one that gives all creatures -1/-1?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he plays it.
That's very surprising.
It's interesting. It takes care of Saprolings, for example. Quite an interesting card against Slamfoot. But I'm not too sure if Mono Black Control or Combo has problems against that kind of archetype. In the meanwhile, some interesting Boros cards were spoilered from Modern Horizons 3.
True. We have
Samuel and me already...
third Titan.
Which one?
We have our third Titan.
Yeah, exactly. This one is quite an interesting one. We had a talk about whether or not this card is... It's definitely interesting, it's definitely good, but how good of a commander is it?
I mean, so far, it doesn't seem... I don't think it's broken. It is a very unique effect in terms of commanders that have the ability to do that. I think Boros is one of those types of decks where the commanders very rarely have good ETB value. Maybe Bruce Tal is a contender, but a lot of them are on board. I'm going to do things in combat, so removal is pretty strong against them.
Yep.
And with this commander, you can essentially ignore the board state and have a lightning bolt for 3 and some more synergies, and have a very consistent. I'm going to keep bolting you, and I'm going to keep bolting you, and eventually you'll be dead, and I'll have gained 6 or 9 life on the way to getting there.
Yeah, true.
Oh, this is a very strong Niv flip.
It's a very strong Niv flip, and we've also seen the Relic of Legends on the NBC player side, which
hit the battlefield and leave the battlefield again.
Abrupt Decay, yes, and then we've seen Siphon Insight. I have seen this card in Standard the last time, I think. I've never seen it in a list, actually. He took away Cabal Coffers, it looks like. So that's the card in his hand. We have another removal spell for Niv-Mizzet, not too bad. So the thing about the Titans, I wonder, is... Let's imagine... Here's the Cabal Coffers, by the way. Let's imagine they are planning on... It's not even too bad, right? I know I'm jumping between one and another, but we have 4 swamps with the Zag of Triumph. So it's
true. That's true. I mean,
mana.
Removing it from the opponent's deck is definitely the stronger thing.
Absolutely.
But being able to 4th the Eolingus for a lot here, which he hit off the Niv.
Yeah, true.
Potentially. Yeah, red and white. So we're seeing a 4th for 5. X is 5. Yeah. So 10 damage and another 10 damage next turn, and the Monarch. And double blue. We saw
quite a few.
Eladamri's Call, which could get a Solitude, I'm guessing.
Yeah, this game seems.
And he has Drowned in the Lockup, which is going to counter a lot of spells.
You know what's funny is, unless the Niv-Mizzet player has a bolt or something, the Knights of the Betrayal would even reduce the damage from 10 to 5 only.
Soul's Betrayal, yeah.
Knight of Soul's Betrayal, yeah. One thing about the Titans, before we continue with the game. Think about that. If we have a cycle at one point and all the Titans are designed around doing something with 3, whatever, cards, life, damage. The 3 we've seen so far were designed around that. We have Aura with 3 life, drawing a card whatsoever. Croxa losing 3 life. Now we have dealing 3 damage, gaining 3 life. I would be curious to see how the 7 other Titans would be designed.
Think that's definitely interesting. I think there will, if the cycle is continued, I think we might still see something like Surveil 3 or Scry 3.
Mm-hmm.
Those are definitely possible. But also...
Surveil would be a bit too powerful, don't you think?
I mean, drawing a card and gaining 3 life and putting a land from your hand onto the battlefield is very powerful. Surveil 3 is strong. It sees a lot of cards. It would probably be too strong with the escape part of it.
Exactly. Yeah, but, that's my point.
We may see... I'm not sure if that's something that is inflexible. Because we might see other cards in the future that have other effects that kind of lean on this, and there could probably be a lore, like a lore-based explanation that maybe we have a Titan that isn't locked up in the underworld, it's locked up somewhere else on Theros, therefore it doesn't have to escape the underworld. Something like that, I don't know. But
so I don't understand why the NBC player is exiling 11 cards with the Necropotence.
I mean,
He's
I think
like the Niv-Mizzet player hasn't brought up any pressure so far. Sure, you can aggressively look for some combo outs, but I mean, you can just refill your hand all over again. Even if your opponent handles the Necropotence now, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you draw
I
4
understand
cards
what
for
you're
3
saying.
mana.
I think there is. Oftentimes we see more aggression than there should be with Necropotence. But I also think that looking at this hand now, he has 2 tutors. He has a way to make way. He has a Dark Ritual. This is the kind of hand he wants to sculpt. And if he thinks that the only way to get there is to pay 11 life, then I'm not sure I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but I mean,
if he thinks that this combo out is how he gets there.
Things like 4th last time, and even worse, he has it in hand again. That's a bit risky to me, to be honest. He just needs to get in range and
say you have Unmask, Dark Ritual, and a tutor in your hand, and you think, okay, if I just make it to the next round and find one more combo piece, then I do that. What can I do to safely do this? So this is swinging
maybe,
for 4.
But you can just grind it out. You don't have to be that greedy. I've recently played it in the Mario Storm list, and it's like it gives you such an easy advantage against control. As long as your opponent hasn't brought up any kind of pressure, and let's be honest, like the 2/2 Knight for 1 is not that much pressure either. You have some time to gather your pieces and maybe even find some protection in a form of discard spells. I think it was a bit too greedy here, to be honest.
It might be. Maybe this is the stress of the tournament, and not considering that. I mean, there isn't many other cards like 4th Eolingus in the Niv-Mizzet player's deck. Maybe he was just expecting a Sego, and him to commit to the board much less, which is pretty likely, right?
Yeah,
you can say, okay,
of course.
Pay 11, and I hope he doesn't have 4th. Which
he's seen so many cards, and list seems much more control-ish overall than most lists that are floating around. But well, let's see. We have a Helm of Awakening, also a card we don't see too often, but again makes perfectly sense in combination with Acererak. Back in the days, I'm not into the deck anymore, but back in the days I didn't feature the card because I thought it gives your opponent too much of an advantage, while your zombie going through the dungeons is not that powerful, unless it's an initiative at the Undercity, I mean.
I think the fact that you have to combine it with a Jet Medallion and another combo piece is probably not that good. Might be the case that you play it to basically just say, okay, if I have Jet Medallion, then I have the ability to just get the Helm of Awakening and have that part of my combo locked down, as opposed to paying 3 mana for an Urza's Incubator.
Yeah, sure. Oh, we see. And he drew Lightning Helix. Oh, wow, okay. That finishes the game. Yeah, maybe next turn would have been a thing. Heartless Summoning, Bubbling Mag. Okay, he would have been able to cycle a few cards, not too bad. Loop as Acererak, I mean. Okay, yeah. Interesting match, I think. We've seen both decks doing what the decks are supposed to do. Unfortunately, you haven't seen any Relic of Legends action, but maybe we will feature this deck in another round. With that being said,
thanks for watching.
And see you next time.
See you next time.